Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mainevent Boxing Talk, and I've got Tom with me here today. Spencer should be joining us shortly. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hello, Nathan. Good to hear from you.
Are you good?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Yeah, perfectly
Great.
fine. Right, let's make a start. Number one, Richard Glatton stops Marcus Brown in a six-round stoppage, but doesn't he quits on his stool, right?
Yeah, I saw the fight.
Was it any good?
It was very good, actually. They went at it really hard, and I'm not sure why they stopped it. Maybe he hurt his hand. It wasn't clear. I mean, he was taking body punches and strong punches, but he was giving back what he was getting as well. So it was competitive. Maybe he just decided he had enough, and didn't want to keep going, or he got injured. I don't know.
I read the report. It said in the first couple of rounds, Marcus Brown was really putting it on him. Beating him up for a couple of rounds. Then in the third, fourth, it started to change. I mean,
Right.
Richard Glatton, to be fair to him, he is a former Olympian. He's got some sort of pedigree. And when he fought CBS, I thought he fought a really good fight, and that was pretty close.
Well, he looked good. I mean, that last round before they stopped it, he had him on the ropes and he was landing. And I could see that Brown was weakening. So I guess he felt, he wasn't going to make it.
I think we have to look at it this way. You know, Richard Glatton hasn't had as much mileage on his career as what Marcus Brown has. Marcus Brown has had a lot of mileage on his
That's
career.
true. True. Yeah.
And I've seen him take a few beatings, like when he fought. What's his name? Badu Jack, and then he fought another guy who's I've forgotten his name. There's another guy who I know. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. I think he had two losses on his record. Yeah.
Yeah, to CBS, but he's only lost to like world sort of level guys. And then he lost
Yeah.
to David Light in another fight. David Light is a guy who fought Lawrence Coley in one of the boringest fights I've ever seen.
Mm.
I mean,
Well,
look at
it's the cruise. It was cruiserweight, right? Not bridgerweight.
no, it's cruiserweight. Yeah, this
That's
fight.
a tough division because guys come down from bridgerweight, you know, to fight down there, and then they rehydrate, and some of them look a lot stronger. I mean, his opponent looked very strong by the fourth
Don't
round
forget,
or
I mean,
fifth
Marcus
round.
Brown is coming up from light heavyweight. It's cruiserweight. He's only been a cruiserweight for a couple of fights, and he's not a cruiserweight. He's
Right.
just a guy who who was more effective at light heavyweight. Cruiserweight is like the unknown, in it. It's like the parts unknown where people, if you're not good enough to be a world champion at heavyweight, you go back down. If you're emerging and you get building your career, you win. You go do what Lawrence Cody did. You win a world title, and then you move up.
Mm.
We've also seen it with another guy. Oh, he's fought a long time ago. Eddie Chambers, is it Eddie Chambers? He went up from
Right.
heavyweight and went back
That's
down to
right.
cruiserweight, and all his power had gone by the time he got
Hmm.
down to cruiserweight.
Hmm. Right.
So, so Gladson, he's back in the mix now. He's back in the mix.
Yeah. He looked strong. He was getting tagged a lot the first couple of rounds, but he came on strong. He got it. He's backed him up a lot onto the ropes and into the corner. That's what happened. And Marcus Brown couldn't keep him off.
And also, Marcus Brown, that was his first fight in 2 years. He was inactive for 2 years. What do
Yeah.
you expect if you sit out the ring for 2 years at 35 years old? You're nearly 37. What do you think is going to happen? It's that inactivity is a killer for older fighters, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't for Bud, but
He's
two
something
years is
special.
a long
He's something.
2 years is a long time.
In your 20s, you can get away, but in your 30s, you can't do that. He should have had.
No.
You've got to have at least two fights a year, even if they are against tomato cans, or lower level fights.
Yeah, that's true.
In also, did you watch
Absolutely.
the Dan Aziz fight? He won by stoppage. This was a
Yeah,
historic card because it was in
it was on
Nigeria.
the same
This guy,
it was on the same card. I watched all of them. I saw it. Yeah. The guy that he fought looked weak, actually.
he had an 11-3 and 5 fight record or something ridiculous.
Yeah, he looked weak. He looked too small. I mean, they had to throw guys up there to fight these, guys.
So
And
Dan Aziz is a guy who's well known in the British Isles. I don't know if you've heard of him before. You've
I've
probably
heard of
never
him.
heard of him.
No, I
So
have heard
he's
of him.
like
I've seen him.
okay, he's like a British level European. He's a European level, high European level fighter who's just below world level. I saw
Hmm.
him fight. God, I can't remember. Is it Richard Rhea Kapoor? He
Okay.
lost, and I see him. He lost it. He's the kind of fighter. I mean, he's 35. Dan Aziz, his chance at world level is kind of gone now.
Hmm. Well,
He's one of them guys.
he looked very good in this one because he had a guy in front of him that I think he knew he would win. He was stronger and bigger, and
The guy
guy
he
couldn't.
fought wasn't even British level. He was below British level. He'd be like regional level, which is like area level, which is like the lowest level of the championship sort of fighting. You
That
know,
looked like it
like at the
for
bottom.
yeah, a lot of those fights look like that. It's like they didn't have enough guys that were competitive enough to be matched with the favored people. You know.
Outside of hardcore boxing fans, who really knows who Richard Grattan is or who Marcus Brown is? Really, they
Hmm.
don't. They're not well-known names, but to us they are because they fought the Badu Jacks, the guys that are there. Um,
Right.
right. So this was a historic card. This was in Nigeria,
Yeah.
but obviously Nigeria, their domestic scene's pretty pathetic, really. If I can be absolutely honest, it's pretty slim picking for talent.
Well, yeah,
Right.
it is. I mean, we have a Jagba, and we have, I think, another guy from Nigeria who's good. But
Put a Jagba on the card. You headline it if you're going to do a card in Nigeria. Do it with a Jagba or Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is Nigerian descent, and then stack the card. Dan Aziz is Nigerian descent. Put all these guys like Anthony Joshua and Jagba against Joshua. That fight sells out a
right,
stadium in Nigeria. Seriously,
exactly. Yeah,
right? We will
exactly.
move on to our next thing. Eddie Hearn doesn't think people will watch the Zuffa Boxing League. Fans won't watch Mickey Mouse boxing, apparently. And this is an article taken from Boxing News 24. Oh dear.
Well,
This,
I don't know what they have planned. I mean, who's fighting? Do they have any fighters worth watching?
I think it's more. I read in the article that Eddie Hearn, not Eddie Hearn, the guy who wrote the article basically said they're looking for prospects, lower level prospects. So basically, this is a boxing league done on the cheap, right? It's done on as cheap as chips.
Yeah, I mean,
People they just don't want to pay the money.
if they want to take lessons from like Oscar de la Hoya, right? They have to recruit guys or champions from certain countries to develop fighters in those countries, and then they can make matches in a venue like this, in an organization like this. Oscar de la
Yeah.
Hoya was successful because he got a lot of Mexican American and Latino fighters signed with him because he gave them a better
Right.
deal than Bob Arum.
This is a problem, right? You could sell sand to the Arabs, right? That's basically what Dana White is doing. He's selling sand to the Arabs because they don't
Hmm.
know nothing about boxing. They're going to pay anything just to get boxing over in there. And UFC, they don't pay their fighters big money anyway. Dana
No.
White's pretty stingy when it comes to how dangerous UFC is. I like Dana White, I respect him, but I don't like the way he runs his company, paying your fighter chump change. If you're getting hit in the
Well,
head, you want more than 70 grand for a fight. Sorry, but you do.
yeah, but I agree, but don't forget they also get a lot of endorsements when they're in the
They do.
UFC. Wh-
The fighters do as well. But
Yeah,
I just think
the
this is,
fighters.
yeah, yeah. I think this has got disaster written all over. I hope it works out because I do like the UFC. I like the UFC model, having one belt per division. I think they need, if they're going to do it, they need to do it right. Get a couple of star names in, but they're not going to pay money. Build up stars. But nobody other than the hardcore fans will watch it. You know what I mean? I just don't think the audience is there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Eddie Hearn shouldn't be saying it's going to fall flat. It's doomed from day one. Let's just see how it develops. I'm going to keep an open mind, but let's see how Zuffa Boxing develops. But
Right.
the
Well,
world title belt, then they were saying fighters don't want to fight for the Zucker belt. But at the end of the
mhm.
day, everybody's got to start somewhere. So why not?
Well, they better really scour the earth for prospects that like look how Manny Pacquiao was discovered. He came to the United States and Freddie Roach was training him, started to train
Yeah,
him, and then they got a call they needed somebody and he went in there and he won. Nobody knew who he was. I
yeah,
remember watching that fight and it was like this guy just
yeah.
arrived and won the title, you know?
As much as this pains me, what I'm about to say. You will probably give me a slap if you saw me in person. I
Yeah.
believe that if they got someone like Jake Paul involved and put him on the line, gave him a fight for the heavyweight belt, let him fight somebody against somebody, like a former UFC fighter for the belt, and then he can be like their first champion. I know that sounds bloody crazy, and people will scoff at that, but it might be the only way to get to a bigger audience, right? Different age groups. You've got people in their teens and twenties. Yeah, that will bring eyes to the boxing league, right?
Well, I think that's a
Or do
great idea. I think it actually, I think that's a great idea, but the Jake Paul doesn't need them. That's the difference. See, they would have to make it very attractive for him to do something like that.
only way that would
Because
happen if he was given a stake in the company, like say 10 or 15% of stake in the company, he would do it. Or if he was given, a role where he could be one of their promoters. I know he doesn't need it, but
no, he
or you
doesn't.
get an ex champ, or you get an ex champion who's lower level sort of world champion. Like a guy like I don't know, trying to think of someone who's not too, someone like Colomon. No, that wouldn't bring eyes to anything. Would it? They need a name, somebody who's going to light people up.
Well, there's somebody like AJ who may or may not do that. You know, there are different people. They could also promote the guy who fought Tyson Fury
Yeah.
and AJ, the former UFC. Well, he's UFC
Or you have,
champion again.
or you have a guest star, like you have someone like a Sylvester Stallone helping with the promotion of it. Like he did with the fight with the Contender Series.
Right. Well, Dana's really good at what he does. Let's see what he does. I mean, who knows?
Let's
It may
give.
turn into something. It may not.
I just hope Eddie Hearn doesn't regret his words. Because if he messes it up, seriously.
Well, has Frank Warren said anything?
No, he hasn't commented on it. But if people, it probably isn't a threat directly now, but it could be in the future. You never know if
Well,
they
you
change the
see,
form.
let's say, look at this situation. Let's say they find a prospect, a really good guy, and they build him up and they start paying him more money. Then, if they're representing him and he wants to fight for a ranked title organization, then
What's he
they
going to
may
do?
be able to parlay that into something else, with more people. But
So they could say, look, you as fighters, you can fight for us, but if you get better offers to fight somewhere else, you're still contractors, but we take some of the share of what you get.
yeah,
That
we'll
they could just,
represent you. We'll negotiate it for you, like
yeah.
they'd be their manager. They can't be a promoter and a manager. They'd have to get like the Don King thing where they get a manager who's working under the table with the promoter, right?
I think this is his way of controlling the sport. But I do believe that if Dana White was to do boxing promotion on the side, he could start small and build it up that way, rather than doing it this way. Rather than having complete control of it.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to wait and see. I like your ideas though.
But they're ideas that will never happen. But they're just ideas. I do wish Dana White a lot of luck with this.
Yeah,
He's not a
so do
dumb man.
I.
Mike
No,
Tyson could help promote it, couldn't he? Mike Tyson would be big enough name to help promote it, right?
anybody could. Floyd could. Floyd could get involved. There's always business angles. So we'll have to see what happens.
I think Mike will do anything for anything pretty much these days. I don't think he has a lot of standards like Floyd. He's not as fussy as what Floyd is. Floyd doesn't need the money, whereas Mike probably does.
Right. Maybe they could make a good deal for Bud to do something with them.
Yeah, that would work out. And if Turkey Al-Sheh is involved, you could say, but then you don't want to piss the organisations off, right?
Well,
This
is
is
he
part of
going
the problem.
to? He'll probably just give up his belts. Canelo's not going to fight for his belts anymore. He's just going to do his last 2 or 3 fights, and that's it.
But the Zuffer belt, you need as your first champion, you need someone with some name value. If Bud Crawford was to drop all his belts and do that, I think that would be very foolish. If you had someone like Joshua as your first world champion, for me that would sell it for.
Yeah, well, let's see if it happens. I agree
Right,
with you.
let's move on to our next thing. There's an article here from Boxing News 24, which is a source. Sergio Mora said Canelo must accept his decline after Crawford loss, which is
Well,
correct.
yeah, yeah. You want me to say something about that?
Yeah, I'd like to hear your opinion.
I think he knows. From the article that I read, I should have sent it to you. Canelo says he won't be pursuing his belts anymore to get his belts back. He's accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish in boxing. He's happy where he's at. And, he's going to finish out his contract and maybe have one more fight after that. And then he's going to ride off into the sunset, spend time with his family and play golf.
I really didn't want it to end that way, the way it ended against Bud, But what a better way to lose than to somebody who's a world class fighter like Crawford. You can't say
You know,
then.
he didn't perform badly. It was just Bud performed better.
Yeah,
He didn't dog it. He tried. I mean, he landed some vicious body shots on him, and hurt him one time with the left hook. But he dug into the exchanges with him. He was just
I think.
outfoxed.
Yeah. I think if he gets an opportunity for one of the vacant belts or an opportunity to fight for a vacant belt against a lower ranked contender in the light heavyweight, I could see him going for that, or even going back down to middleweight.
I don't think. I think he's pretty. If he retired now, there'd be no shame in it.
No, there wouldn't be.
His legacy is cemented. He's been a great champion, and he's done things most fighters will never do. So
Yeah,
I
and
I,
also, I
I
mean,
think it's yeah.
I like to see him fight Jake Paul just to knock him out. That would be hilarious. That would be the icing
Yeah,
on the cake. Get
yeah,
Canelo in the
yeah,
ring so he can knock him out.
yeah.
Right.
Canelo doesn't move the way he used to. He doesn't throw as many combinations like he used to. He loads up on
Part
one
of
shot.
aging, part of the aging process of boxing. It's a young man's game. It's
Yeah.
not an old
Well,
fighter's game.
he's been a great champion.
But we've seen other fighters like Bernard Hopkins, you know, come into their prime at 38, 39. There's no reason he can't come back and do something. I think he can. He's still good enough to. But anyway, we'll
Right.
move on to our next thing.
Sure.
This is Fundora Thurman for the WBC welterweight title. Right, there's a bit, sorry, light middleweight title. There's a bit of a problem here. Fans are complaining about the $74.99 pay-per-view fee, and it sparks outrage as critics call the fight a mismatch. Right, I have to
Well,
say I think this is a mismatch. It shouldn't be
yeah.
on. It shouldn't even be on pay-per-view. This fight, I don't think it's pay-per-view
Who's
worthy.
who's promoting this?
I have no idea. I didn't look it up,
Well,
but
you
I
know
do.
why? You know why too, Nathan? We just had a great fight card on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so what people could join Netflix for like $19 or whatever it is. Why spend 75 to see something, a champion who hasn't really fought much in the past 3, 4 years
That
versus
nobody even mentions anymore against the guy. Fundora is all wrong for him. Fundora is an emerging fighter, right? He's an emerging star, right? He's 27 years old. He's in the prime of his career now. He's getting better with each fight, right? You
and
know,
he's a freak. He looks like a freak.
and he looks like a light heavyweight or a cruiserweight with his size. I believe that his height and reach will be too much. Plus, you've got the inactivity, the one fight in 4 years for Thurman, which he had in Australia last year, which was a dreadful performance against a substandard guy. I believe Fundora puts him away in about 6, 7 rounds. Thurman is going to be 37. He's not the fighter he was. You can't have 3 fights in 8 years and have that kind of an activity. It, it's got a disaster written all over it for me. You know,
I agree.
Furman should have just stayed retired and never have come back. In my opinion, he's had
Yeah.
a great career, nothing left to prove.
I mean, Fundora is going to tower over him.
He's going to destroy it. You're talking about a man who's 10 years younger, more hungry. You know, when you're fighting a young, hungry champion like that, it's so dangerous.
And no injuries. He has no injuries. Thurman has injuries.
I don't know how he makes 154. I have no clue how he does it.
Well, I stood next to him at the airport, and he's not a big man, Thurman. He's not
Isn't
very.
he about 6 foot? He's about 6 foot. And
No, no. He was
Fundora's
shorter
not. I
than.
thought
No, no. I'm talking about Thurman. He's shorter than I am.
he's about 5'6". Yeah, but
5'8", maybe 5'8", 5'9", somewhere around there. And Fundura's
it's
like
ridiculous.
what, 6'3", 6'5"? I don't know.
Six
He's
five.
big.
Yeah, 6'5". Yeah, same
It's
height as
huge.
Anthony Joshua. It is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, let's move on to our next thing. Isaac Cruz is going to defend his WBC interim super lightweight title against the defensively sound Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach is going up 2 weights for this, I believe, because he is still the WBA featherweight champion. He lost his last
Well,
fight to Gervonta Davis.
wasn't it a draw?
Sorry, it was a draw, yeah. Well, what I don't
And
understand about it, he's going up 2 weights. The WBA are not stripping Lamont Roach. You know, they should be stripping. You know,
they should.
and he's taken
They
for
should.
Isaac Cruz is a good fighter, but Lamont Roach is all wrong for Isaac Cruz, the way he fights. The problem with Isaac Cruz is that he's used to fighting guys who mix it up a little bit, right? The guys who are
Right.
moving, because obviously all the guys he's lost to, he's been outboxed, right?
Right.
No, pretty
Right.
comprehensive.
Yeah. Well, it's a good match. I mean, all things considered, you have the boxer puncher versus, the guy who likes to mingle and bore in and pound. So that makes for a good match, and I definitely watch it.
Lamont Roach is a nightmare for any fighter because he's so defensively sound. You know,
Hmm.
who'd want to come up against that? And
Well,
now we know why Javon.
he's also a good puncher.
Now we know why Gervonta Davis didn't bother taking the rematch, and I don't blame him because his style is all wrong for Gervonta Davis, and it's
That's
also all
right.
wrong for Isaac Cruz.
Yep.
He'll slice him up and he'll stop him.
It's going to be a good one, though. I mean, Cruz will try his hardest to win
Yeah.
that fight. So they'll bring out the best in each other. Let's put it that way.
These interim titles, I'm a bit sick of these interim belts, to be honest, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know what they're there for. They should call them the gatekeeper belt.
Yeah, the only reason these silly belts are there is if somebody's injured and, such and such. That's what the interim's there for. It's not there for the sake of it, like the WBA will create interim titles for the sake of it.
That's
Yeah.
look, the way we used to solve that is that the top 2 contenders would fight each other
Yeah.
for the vacant
But
belt.
the IBF, what they do is in their rankings. I saw it. Derek Chisora is ranked number 2 in the rankings, right? And the
Oh
number
my
1 position is vacant. Don't ask me
God.
how this works. It's the way it
What?
works, but I'll come back to that when we talk about Moses Atuma a bit later.
That's
Let me just
crazy. That's
how
crazy.
it works. How it works. And with the WBO, say if you lose a fight, I remember Liam Smith did it once. He lost a fight, right? Lost his
All right.
title, and then he wanted to fight for a title again against Jamie Munguia. But what he did was the WBO state if you have a loss, you have to have a fight and win it before you can fight for one of their belts again. So what Liam Smith did, he went abroad and did a fight behind closed doors, right? With no cameras, no nothing.
Right.
And then, so if you have a loss, you can't fight. If you got a win, then that put him back in the ranking so they could. It's a dumb rule. I think it's a really dumb rule. Right, let's move on. Janet Beck is in talks with Lara for a free belt unification fight in December. This is a very
Yeah,
good fight.
I think so too. And Laura's long in the tooth too, and
He's
Janabek is reaching
40.
his prime. You know,
Janet
Janabek's in
Beck
his
is,
prime.
I think he's 31 or something, or he might be younger. But Janet Beck, for me, he's the best middleweight in that division
Right.
by by far, by far.
I agree. I agree. Very much so.
So the idea is that if this fight happens, the winner will then fight Crawford. So Crawford will then look at it because why would Crawford fight Janibek for only two belts when he can fight whoever wins and gets three belts? You know what I mean? That makes more sense to me. And he
Right.
can have a unification with Mares. But Mares tried to have, Janibek tried to have unification with Mares, and Mares didn't, the WBC champion didn't want to take it. You know, I don't, because Canelo doesn't, not Canelo, Johnny Beck doesn't bring the same sort of money or name recognition that Crawford brings, you know?
Exactly. But you're assuming Crawford would do that. You know, in all the interviews I've seen after the fight, even with Andre Ward, it was an hour and a half interview. Crawford like achieved his goals. He doesn't know what to do next. You know, he doesn't really, for him it's always been about doing something everybody said that he couldn't do. And now that he's done all this, you know, when he unified against Spence, when he was at 140 and
Yeah. If
unified,
he,
and now,
if he,
wait a second, wait a second. And now, you know, going up and beating the big guy at 168 for all the belts, what's going to motivate him besides money?
I think light heavyweight would be ridiculous, but I still think he could pull it off. If he went up there, I think he could, he could pull it off. But it's just too risky. I'd say to him,
Yeah.
go to middleweight, which is a division he skipped. Go to middleweight and do that, and then do that. If you don't want to go to middleweight, if you don't want to lose weight, go to light heavyweight. Pick one of the weakest champions there when one of the belts become vacant. You know, like one of the
Yeah.
Anthony Yard kind of guy. But him
Well,
against Anthony Yard would be kind of be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Really?
yeah, but he said right now is that he's not going to go down in weight. So I think
Well,
he'll probably, maybe he'll have one more fight and then call it quits because what motivates him is the goals. You know, he's wealthy anyway without fighting
I
anymore.
know
He owns tons
he
of
is.
real estate.
Right, the problem is if he says, right, I want a new challenge, he could go down to middleweight, but then again and win all the belts. What would that prove? To me, that would prove nothing. That we
Yeah, but
already didn't know about him.
yeah, who down there is going to draw the way Canelo drew? I think
Nobody.
if
There is
I
nobody.
think if they're both smart, he gives up the belts, and then him and Canelo have another fight together. They'll make a lot of money.
I don't think he'll do that. I think in his head he's already beaten the guy. Why would he want it? I know the money, he's not motivated. So he'll probably think, I've beaten this guy, I want someone else. Give me Vitervia, give me Bivol. Let me test, really test myself.
Do you remember when GGG fought Canelo, and then
I do in the third fight.
no, the third fight, they hugged each other. Canelo beat him, and Canelo had an injury, but he still beat him. They hugged
Yeah.
each other, and after that, GGG just drifted into Olympic boxing. You know,
But
he didn't fight anymore. He just didn't fight, and he let the belts go.
but, but
And I
I
think we're
remember
going to see something similar here with
but
both of these
after,
guys.
after he lost to Canelo the third time, he did go off and win some more belts, didn't he? I believe, or was that before he fought?
No, I'm talking about GGG. What
That's
GGG
what he told
did,
me.
you know, Canelo took some time off to have shoulder surgery, and to get his shoulder fixed, and he had all the belts at 168 because
Yeah.
GGG went up to 168 to fight him. Remember?
That's it. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. My memory is bad. That's
Yeah. So GGG just kind of disappeared after that.
But I mean,
Yeah.
he was a guy who was one of the best middleweights of his era, right? In my opinion, he was.
Yeah, and in my opinion, he beat Canelo the first fight.
Oh, it wasn't a draw, no. Of course it wasn't.
That was
From what I
horseshit.
remember.
Yeah.
just boxing, he wasn't one of the chosen people. But when he lost to Canelo the second time or the first time, he went away, won the IBF, the IBO, and then won the WBA middleweight. Won the WBA.
Yeah. And then Canelo moved up to, he won all the other titles, or he had them all at the time. I don't remember. But in any case, let's move on.
Okay. Pacquiao. Oh, this gets worse. Pacquiao is finishing up, finalising his December fight with WBA champion Rolly Romero. Oh, dearie me. This shouldn't even be sanctioned. It's ridiculous.
I think it's a mistake. It's a mistake.
Yeah. I feel bad for Romero. He'll get good money for it, but the problem with Rolly is this fight: if he wins, he gets flack. If he loses, he gets flack. He can't win in this fight, no matter what he does. He will win the fight comfortably. But you get what I'm saying. He's in a no-win situation. He should just forget this fight and just move on to someone else. A unification with Barrios would be better, wouldn't it? That's what I think. I mean, if he gets good money for this fight, then take it. Then as soon as you've had the fight, have a unification with Paddy Donovan. Have a unification with with Barrios or whatever. Wrap the division up. Have a fight with.
I think.
The problem is that like welterweight, there's not too many. There's not a lot of star power in that division, really, other than Devin Haney. Not Devin Haney.
Yeah, but he's fighting at welterweight.
Yeah, Shakur Stevens is he lightweight or light welterweight? He's light welterweight now, isn't Shakur Stevens?
Yeah, Shakur I think is 140.
Yeah. So make a fight with a guy like that, but I don't think there'll be too much interest in a Barrios Rolly Romero unification. Rolly Romero is a weaker champion, but he's better than Barrios. Barrios is the weakest welterweight champion I've seen in a long time, right?
Right, and Rolly has a very strong punch.
Oh, he does. He's getting better with each fight. Right. I've noticed that now. He's started to, he's grown into his own into that belt. But I just think this fight is ridiculous. I don't think it should be sanctioned. How the hell Pacquiao gets a license at 47 hours? It's ridiculous. Obviously, in his prime, we know that Pacquiao would have destroyed him. We know that. But
he would destroy all of them that came up.
Yeah. Right. This is making me angry. This is. I'm going to move on.
All right, move on. Don't get upset.
Joe Apataya has revealed Turkey Al-Sheikh wants him to fight David Benavidez at cruiserweight when he wins all the belts. And him and Benavidez would be a great fight, wouldn't it? It'd be cracking fun.
I think so too. I think you got a good. I think definitely that would be a moneymaker, and I'm interested in watching it.
Apataya is too big for him. Apataya would take him out, I believe.
Right.
In my personal opinion, he's got heavyweight power, hasn't he? Apataya, really.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Hi, Marty. He does. He has a lot of power.
Right, we'll move on. Brian Norman Sr., the father of Norman Jr., has ripped Duran Ennis for ducking Tim Tszyu and his fight with the 14-1 Lima, his 154-pound debut. I don't think Norman has a right to say that, because every fighter, if they're not sure about the division, has a right to acclimatise to the division, at least have one or two soft fights, before they fight a bigger name.
Now, who is he going to fight here?
A guy called Lima. He's a South American guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
we talked about it last week.
Deal? Yeah.
That would be Jaron Ennis's. Yeah, Karen.
Yeah, I think Norman is kind of caught a lot of attention, but he's still new to the public, the broad fight public, where he could get enough, garner enough interest so that he could fight with one of these guys at 140. It's 147 he's in now, right? And, Ennis has moved up to 154. So
it is, yeah.
That's going to be rough. to do
Right,
something
very
like
rare.
that. So he's got to fight these guys. He needs more exposure. He needs more dramatic knockouts like he did in his last fight, where he just
Yeah.
wasted that guy. And once he does that, then, he's going to be knocking on the doors all the time, the title doors to get what he wants,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
right?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous, to be honest.
It's boxing.
It doesn't have to be complicated, but obviously the political crap and God knows what, you can't win. It's a no-win situation. You know,
Right.
it really is.
Yeah. So what's next?
Oh God, Moses Atuma is sidestepping. I've got the IBF rankings here. He's skipping. He doesn't. He's turned down a fight with Frank Sanchez.
I think that's a good idea.
Of course, it's a good idea.
I think
Who
it's a
would want
very
to
good
fight him?
idea.
Yeah.
He's not ready for that smoke. He had an aging Dillian White, who didn't have any punch resistance anymore. And he was able to outspeed and outpunch him and just bang him up, right? He's not going to be able to do
Correct.
that with Frank Sanchez. So
Yeah.
they better take him along slowly because they have a good talent there and just build him up. They're talking about Torres, too. I don't think Torres should fight him.
I think Torres will get destroyed by it.
Yeah.
Seriously. I'm looking at
Awesome.
the rankings here. Right? I've got the rankings pulled up in front of me. So in the WBA, Moses Atuma is ranked number 1,
Right.
Also, he's ranked. I haven't got the WBC yet because I can't see that. So the WBO, he's the number 1 as well because he's a WBO champion. I believe if I'm looking at fighters for this kid, you'll be looking at. I think he should go the WBA route, personally. Don't go for somebody who's too dangerous. Go for someone like. Do you think he could beat Pulev now?
I think so. I think Pulev is slow enough that he could do that.
Fabio Wardley would have been the perfect opponent for him. He would have knocked him out, got his interim belt. To me, that would have made more sense. Or if you look at, you've got the Michael Hunter, or go straight for Cobra Pulev. Or, if it were me, I'd get someone I'd get Pulev in there straight away. Make him a big money offer. Fight for a world title now. Don't wait. In the WBA rankings, he's not ready to fight Joseph Parker or any of them guys. Give him Derek Chisora. Give him Derek Chisora for his last fight in Manchester. That's who he should fight, in my opinion. Derek Chisora.
That would be good. That would be very good.
If not, Jared Anderson or someone, or Torres will get blown away. So for me, either Philip Hergovich or Chisora. They're about the same sort of level. Or
I
even
agree with that.
do you know who I think they will pull out for Atuma's next fight? Joe Joyce. They'll recycle Joe Joyce and you put him in there.
He hasn't been around for a while since he lost, right?
No, he lost his last fight about 2 months ago to Hergovich on points, and it was pretty competitive. Or you either give him someone like Joe Joyce, or you give him David Adelaide, someone like David Adelaide. That would be a good test.
He needs someone who could give him rounds. He needs rounds. Nobody's taken him to the well yet. You know what I mean?
But
you know what I'm saying?
The problem here is, if you offered Anthony Joshua the fight, imagine if he said yes. Maybe that would be a step too far. But then at least we know what he's not ready.
He's not ready yet. He needs to have about another year or so of experience with somebody and get up to some. Pulev would be good because Pulev could probably last longer because of his size and his jab.
But the problem he would have is because Pulev is a dirty fighter, right? He does rabbit punches, he does hugging, and he's very skillful. So he's an old man who doesn't have a hard punch like some of the other guys do, right? And also he'd be hard to work out because of his stance and the way he fights. He fights on the outside. If you get Pulev up close. If you can get to him and hurt him, you'll get him out of it. But you know, that's the sort of fighter would be perfect. If you stuck Emmanuel Shah in there, it'll be over in a round. You know, someone like he. It's a shame Pulev has a belt, but I don't think Pulev would agree to this fight. To be honest,
You know, he needs just to keep doing what he's doing, and like Joe Joyce would be good because Joyce would be able to give him rounds. He needs rounds. That's what he needs.
oh
He
yeah,
needs somebody
and he
that's
and he
going to stick around.
and he would hurt. He would probably be able to hurt Atuma. Then if there is any weaknesses in Atuma, we'll find out there and then that night, right? Like
Right.
I want to see him get dropped. I want to see him get hurt. I want to see him come back from getting knocked down. I want to see him come back, and do 12 rounds.
Well, at
You
least
know,
somebody who could back him up. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's just ridiculous. The sort of person you'd want is someone like a prime Kevin Johnson from say 15 years ago. That sort of guy.
Or even the other lower contender heavyweights, the Americans too.
Michael
It,
Hunter. That would be a good fight. Jarrell
yeah,
Miller.
they
But I'm
have.
not.
Yeah, well, we don't want to put him in with Jared Anderson yet. But now Jared
No, Jarrell,
Anderson's been exposed. I wonder what
he's
their
a, he's
plans
a
are for him.
Jared Anderson is the problem with modern boxing is one loss and people lose interest, right? And they deem your career over, right? That's that's the
Right.
state of modern boxing, I'm afraid.
See,
Right,
the
we'll
old
move on.
timers, they
Sorry, Karen.
stayed sharp. Even if they lost, they kept fighting every 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
What's next?
it's crazy, isn't it, when you think of it?
Yeah.
Celia Brackers is is fighting at the weekend. She's fighting in Norway. She's fighting for the WBC and WBA. What the hell is it? Super lightweight title.
Is she moving
And
up or
her opponent,
down?
I think she's fighting at super lightweight. I think she's moving down. Yeah, she
Yeah,
used to be
that's what I
well.
thought. Right,
So the
right.
funny thing is, she's 44 years of age, right?
Oh my
And her
God.
opponent, her opponent is 26, right? But as we
Right.
know, the women's boxing, the talent level isn't there. So you could get someone like Silas Brackers, who's as old as she is, as good as she was, who could probably still win a world title. She is the
Hmm.
WBC interim champion, so I expect her to win.
Right,
So we're looking at a woman that unified the titles 15, 16 years ago, right? Held on to those
right,
belts for 10, 11 years. So
right.
I'd expect her to win this.
Well, if she's in shape, she should, because she has the
But,
experience and the talent. I don't
but do
know
you get
much
the.
about her opponent. I
No,
don't
she
know much
can't be
about
that
her
good.
opponent.
I don't either. But she can't be that good if they target it. But in women's boxing, it's like the belts are given out like candy in women's division, aren't they? They're always vacated, they're given out like candy bars.
Well,
The fact
let
that
me
you.
say, yeah, yeah, but let me say this: they're getting more, they're getting more female fighters, and we're getting more talent than there. It's not like it's been
We
around
are.
as long as men's boxing.
No, but from where it was 10 years ago, women's boxing has come on so much. You've got people like Katie Taylor, you've got more talented fighters coming through. But at the minute,
Yeah,
what I'll give you an example like Carissa Shields moves up to heavyweight, where there's absolutely no pool of talent there. She's fighting 43-year-old women. You know, I just thought it was ridiculous. She even fought a woman who was 46. I just laughed.
yeah.
And
Well, it
Carissa
is what it
Shields,
is. You're right. You're right.
have
What
you
can you say?
seen the state of some of the women at heavyweight boxing, what they look like, and how Carissa
Yeah,
Shields looks?
it's
It,
pretty
it's
sad.
ridiculous. And then you
Yeah,
look
it's
at
pretty
Carissa
sad.
Shields, she's like one of the only elite athletes in that actual division. She is the heavyweight division.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Right, let's move on. Marius Masternak, a former world-rated fighter, is fighting Dzeko from Belgium for the cruiserweight European belt, EBU
Ah,
cruiserweight title.
okay.
So this is I expect Masternak to blast this guy. This guy's only got like 13 fights on his record. He's got no. Masternak's a proven commodity. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you. You
Okay.
know, I'm familiar with him, and I think that's correct what you're saying. That
Right.
it should be him.
Okay. Let's move on to our next thing. Can you believe it? This week on Monday, the Thriller Manila fight between Ali and Joe Frazier was 50 years ago. Can you
Oh
believe
my,
it?
oh my God! I remember watching that fight. Uh, there was a replay of it. No, it was on, and I was with my father. He was working that night to fix a jukebox in a bar, a
Hmm.
sports bar that was showing the fight, and I was watching it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, these guys are beating the shit out of each other." I mean, I couldn't believe those two guys were going at it like that. That in their third fight, I mean, there was so much excitement the first fight. The second fight, you know, Frazier was not as motivated. He was coming off of the loss to Foreman, and he had a fight before that to
Hmm.
come back, and then he fought Ali, and you know he got rocked in the second round. The referee
Wow.
screwed up and called the fight off where there was still time. Ali could have probably finished him. So, but that fight there, I mean, I think what made it great was they brought the best out of each other.
Can
And
I ask
it
you
was
a question
it,
about old
sure.
fights? Didn't they used to show it in the cinema back in the old days, in the 70s? Is that
They
true?
showed it in the cinema, but back then also, by that time with that fight, they were doing closed circuit and selling it on TVs as well.
So when is that when pay per view started in the mid 70s in America?
Uh, yeah, it was, that's when it, well, you could see it in a movie theater, but also I think depending, they were granting licenses to certain boxing
Yeah. So
venues.
what sort of
I
money was
mean,
it
TV subscribers.
back
Pardon
in
me?
those days? How much was a pay per view back in those days if you wanted to watch it at home of closed circuit?
I never paid for them. I mean, you go to the movie theater. I may be Nathan. I got to say, I may be wrong. It could have been it could have been a rebirth because I'd have to look it up. But I remember seeing it in the bar, and I was like,
Really? Wow.
"Holy shit!" Like, I was like, "Where are these?" It's like it was like an extension of the first fight, only more. They were just going at it so hard,
Do you
and
think
Freight.
they should have made this fight available at the cinemas so people can watch it now on a bigger screen? Do you think they should have done something like that or not?
Well,
For
if
old
you
fights.
did watch it, if they did restore it really well and upgrade it and whatnot, I mean, some of these old fights were so brutal. I mean, just brutal. And these two guys in the, you know, Frazier was blind in his right eye, and a lot of people didn't know that. That's why Eddie Futch stopped the fight because his
Okay.
left eye was closing. But if
Really? Wow.
Ali went back to his corner after the 14th round and said, "Cut the gloves off. I can't go out. I'm gonna collapse." You know,
Yeah.
and he did. He did. He when he stood up to raise his hand, he fell down on the canvas. They had to
Ah,
take him to the
really?
hospital. They took Ali to the hospital because he was so dehydrated. You
Bloody hell.
know,
That's crazy.
he would have lost. Frazier would have landed one punch and he would have fell down.
I didn't realise it was that. I remember watching the fight about 20 years ago on a DVD, but I let that my friend go. Right. The truth of it is, I remember watching this fight in 2001 on the DVD that my friend gave. So I wasn't privy to any Ali fights till about 2001. Obviously, I knew who they both were and how important they were, but I'd only seen the modern stuff, from like the late 90s onwards.
You know,
And the
look
more
at
you,
all the yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
yeah, what you were going to say, look at all the old.
No. Continue what you were saying, and then I'll talk.
So it wasn't until I started doing the podcast review around that sort of time that I started looking at all these old time fighters. I mean, I'd had a history book that my sister got me in 2005, right, about the history of boxing, and I read it. It had all the champions, Jack Johnson, Dempsey, all these people, all the guys that mattered. And then I saw an article today in Boxing News 24 where they said that Ali was the best heavyweight ever and he'll never be topped. I don't think you can make that assessment, really. Maybe you can and you can't. But I mean, was Ali as dominant as Usyk when he was champion?
Well, the first time, before the whole thing with the draft came on,
Yeah.
he cleaned out the heavyweight division. There was nobody left really for him to fight at that point. He fought everybody in the heavyweight division and made them all look silly. I mean,
But could you
silly.
imagine? Could you imagine if you've got an Ali from 1965 and stuck him there with 37-year-old Usyk? I think he'd beat Usyk. But maybe Usyk, if he fought the 35-year-old, 33-year-old guy that beat Foreman, I'd say he'd win that against that version of Ali, right? Do you agree?
I think um, I think Foreman could have beaten Usyk. I mean, I've been watching Foreman, the first Foreman and the second Foreman, and the second Foreman was actually better in many ways than the first Foreman.
Yeah. But
Um,
would you say that Ali was more skillful than Usyk in the ring? Be honest.
uh,
You know,
no,
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, he was.
no. But what I was going to say was when you watch a fight that Thriller in Manila, the body shots that Ali took, I don't know how he was able to continue being hit in the body the way Frazier hit him. And then Ali just clean right hands on Frazier's face was
But
just incredible.
as we know, Ali was a high level Olympian, right? Won Olympic gold through his medal and thing. But when I think of Usyk being a prime Usyk being in the ring of Ali, it's hard
Mm.
for me to kind of imagine because Ali was so much more fluid, so much more quicker, whereas Usyk is a lot slower. Probably might not hit, probably might hit harder, but Ali would just overrun him, wouldn't he, with the skill level? He would just
No, I
worn him
don't
out.
think so. I don't think so. I think Usyk has much better boxing fundamentals, and his boxing IQ, his ability to change angles and be at either side. I mean, look
Angles,
what
yeah,
he did to
exactly.
Fury. I mean,
Huh.
he first of all, Usyk was taller than Ali. Okay,
But
Ali
really,
was six
yeah,
three. Usyk is 6'5", a
yeah.
southpaw, and he could knock you out with either hand.
But what I'm trying
Okay,
to say is, when I compare it, how I haven't seen a fighter as good as Ali since Usyk or Lennox Lewis. You can't say you've seen two
you mean
better
in the heavyweight division?
in the last since Ali. I haven't seen two better fighters than these guys than like Usyk or Lennox Lewis. Really, have you? Other
Well,
than not really.
Mike Tyson at his peak would have given Ali trouble.
Oh yeah, I don't think he would have beaten him. Do
I
you
don't
think
know.
a prime? Do you think a prime Tyson beats a prime Usyk now, like or not? So I'd have to say no.
I don't think so.
I think Usyk would have beat.
I don't
He
think
would have
so.
been just.
The styles wouldn't have mixed well. Usyk would have found more angles on Ali. And
But with
Ali, like Roy Jones, was a tremendous athlete who relied on his speed. But when his speed started to go, he started to take too many shots, just like Roy Jones.
because I've watched Ali from '65 and I've seen Ali in '75, and it's like they're like two completely different people.
Sure they are.
You can't believe it's the same man. When you look at his early fights, what he was doing, the skipping and jumping, and then when he fights guys in the '70s, it's like he just looks like an old man compared to what he was.
Well,
It's
he grew
crazy.
into a man. He went from 212 to 220, 225,
Yeah,
So he
but
had more of a man's frame by that time.
I
And
mean,
he couldn't dance the way he used to dance.
I'll tell you another good fight. A prime David Hay against Ali in 1975. Ali, wouldn't that have been a great fight? Obviously, Ali would have knocked him out and beat him, but wouldn't
Yes,
that have been a great
he
fight?
would have been, yeah, it would have been, but Hay would have lost that one. I mean, look,
But
they would
even
have
if
had to look at the guys they would have had to get through during that era. They had to get through Foreman. They had to get through Ron Lyle. They had to get through, all these great.
Oscar Bonavena,
Yeah, Oscar wasn't great, but he was tough. George Chavallo. They have to get through some very tough individuals.
Ernie
at that
Shavers,
time.
you imagine having to fight Ernie, if Ernie Shavers was around now, imagine having to fight him or Ken Norton for a mandatory fight. Imagine having to fight one of them guys just
Or
to get
Joe
in the top
Frazier.
10.
Or Joe
Huh.
Frazier.
It'd be a nightmare,
Any,
but wouldn't it be amazing
or
if you
even,
took those names from the 70s
yeah,
and put them in now? See how well
or
they did.
even Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
A prime Sonny
I,
Liston would have beat most of those guys.
I do think the guys from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s have a stronger, are mentally tougher than the guys of today, right?
Well,
Like
it's a
you've got
different,
Tyson, yeah. But
it's
let's
a
put it so you've
different.
got Tyson, yeah. You've
Go
got
ahead.
David Haye talking about his toe, Tyson Fury talking about his mental. You wouldn't see Sonny Liston talking about his mental health, would you? Come on, let's be honest. You wouldn't, would
No,
you? This
no,
is what I'm saying.
no.
Different mindset. Right,
Totally
let's move
different
on
mindset.
to our final thing. This is called Olympic Kings in Exile. So this is
Ah,
top heavyweights who fought at the Olympics but never became professionals. TFMO Stevenson, Felix Savon, names like this that
well,
never became professionals.
those were two Cubans, right?
Yeah, correct. Different eras. All
Well,
won three Olympics.
Castro made them heroes back there. And,
Yeah,
Teofilo Stevenson, to turn pro, he would have been a great pro, but, Castro made him such a big celebrity and made him, uh, a hero in the country. He didn't have any need or desire to do that.
yeah.
So
I can tell
why
you
do
that
it?
they would have done better than what Lewis Ortiz did. They would have all won world titles. Felix Savon would have won a world title. You had another great Olympian, David Calamari, the Italian heavyweight from the 90s to
Uh-huh.
2000s. All these top guys, but I don't like what they do at the Olympics now. Like you can get Zhalalov, goes to every Olympics, wins it, then comes back and has a couple of fights.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
like that.
I don't like it either. What they need to do is, once they turn pro, the rule was you can't go back to the Olympics.
Yeah. But it's just ridiculous. You can't have a guy like Zhalalov. He's fighting guys. He's a 28-year-old man. He's fighting 19 and 20-year-olds who haven't got the experience in amateur or pro days. And to me, it just devalue the gold medal, the Olympic gold medal.
It's not a fair playing field. Let's put it that way.
So 25 years ago, if you won it, or 20 years ago, if you won a gold medal, that was your ticket to stardom, right? Anthony Joshua, Lennox Lewis, that was a ticket to stardom, right?
Well, I have to question Jalalov and if he's really serious about competing, with the top heavyweights. It doesn't look like
I
he
mean,
is.
he's 28 years old. He has the talent to be a world champion. Surely, I just don't understand. He's 50-0. He's been fighting for 7, 8 years, right? That's it. Again, he's been fighting guys who are not even in the top 50.
Well, he's also fighting in an organization that's in Russia where he will win a heavyweight championship there. So he'll probably, if he doesn't want to go the other route, he'll just stay and do what
So
he's doing.
I just
You
have to
know,
correct you there. He's from Uzbekistan.
I know,
So
but he's fighting a
yeah,
Russian guy in a different
yeah,
organization, and that's
yeah.
not
I
one
know.
of the title organizations that we look at as a title organization of the
No.
four, right? So
But
I don't know
he
what
is ranked.
his.
He is ranked in some of the top organisations. I just think if
Yeah,
you're going to do that, either stay amateur or stay pro. Once you become professional, to me, there's no going back to this amateur stuff.
I
It doesn't
agree
make
with
any
you
sense.
100%. That's why a lot of those Cuban fighters, after they won, they came to the United States, or they left Cuba to have a career. They left their families behind.
Yeah, it's a shame, but they did what Lewis Ortiz did the same thing. I mean, he was a top amateur, right? I don't know if he won a gold medal or not. I'm not sure, but it just goes to show you, I think Felix Savon and these guys, they thought, well, the grass isn't always greener on the side. We'll just stick to what we know. We're looked after good here. We make plenty of money.
Yeah.
We've got the adulation of Cuba. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Cuba is a very difficult place to live in, for
Isn't
most
it a
people because
Soviet? Isn't it a communist country or something?
It's communist, yes, it's run like that, but it's really more of a dictatorship where the Castro brothers, you know, when they make deals for the country, they're the ones who reap the profits. That they don't get it. Hey, Suzanne. Anyway, my
Right,
friend,
mate.
I got to
We
get
better go.
going.
All right, I'll see
It
you
was
later. Thanks for coming on.
great show. Take care.
All right, we'll be back next week. Bye. Bye.
Bye.